Hi there, I'm speaking from my couch this morning because it's a little bit too cold to sit outside and I'm too lazy to go set everything up in the basement where I usually do my videos. Today I'm going to be talking about the first feature that I plan to build for the portfolio operating system, and that is around journaling. So hi, my name is Paul if you don't know me, and I am building a portfolio operating system for active retail traders, building it in public and making it available for free on GitHub. So what I'm going to do is, so journaling is basically just the idea of as you operate your portfolio over the course of a week and multiple weeks and months and so on, you're capturing decisions that you made, why you made those decisions, that sort of thing. And a good journal is a good tight feedback loop. So you make decisions, you can assess their impact, you might come up with new ideas or theories, all that kind of thing. And a good journal is going to make it so that you can integrate in easily key facts about your portfolio without having to do a whole bunch of difficult copy and pasting. And then also these days we want to take advantage of AI. It's really, really powerful. It can assess the journal for us and tell us things that maybe we didn't think about. And then if we do this in a structured way, we can actually pull data out of the AI process and inject it into the journal to help us just get better at trading. So what I'm going to do, I've already gone through a mind mapping exercise. I have another video that I'll point to where I did a lengthy mind mapping exercise. So this right here, not starting from scratch. I've already started it. And you can see that I've got three main concepts here. Why am I starting with journaling? It might feel a little bit like, what does that really got to do with trading? But I think it's important. What are the features? And then some tech thoughts. So let's start off by looking into why this feature of all the features? Why start with this? And again, here's Miro being super helpful. I don't want you to be here. Go away. I don't know how to get it to go away. All right, so anyway, we'll just have to be annoyed by it. So why this? So one thing is that by finally actually starting coding, it's going to force some tech decisions. So I need to be able to figure out, okay, I know that I want this to be SaaSable, like software as a service in the future. In fact, I want it to be that way right from the get-go in case there are people who want to take advantage of the portfolio operating system and don't have the technical know-how or the interest in learning how to set stuff up on a laptop, from a GitHub account. We need to make some final decisions around the tech stack. I want to make it so it can be installed as easily as possible. I need to force myself to make some decisions around spec-driven development, which is a way of harnessing agents and getting them to work in a development flow that ensures that the system is being built, the features I want are being built, and more importantly, or equally importantly, they're being built the way I want them to be built to make some decisions about the database. And there'll probably be some other tech decisions, like for the SaaS side, we have to finalize a cloud provider, stuff like that. I think that the journaling feature is independently useful. So even without any of the other stuff, which ultimately the vision of this is that I've outlined in previous videos, is we want to be able to pull content in from our brokers. We want to do all kinds of analysis. We want to get a lot of decision support and things like that. And there's a lot to do. But the journaling function by itself, independently useful. So we can start off with that and we'll get value out of it right away. It won't be as useful until some of the other features are built, but the AI integration, all these things, it's going to be there. Now, I did think about other alternatives, and we live in a world full of things. So I used to use Notepad for quick thoughts, OneNote for more persistent things. Microsoft Word is a good one, or Google Docs. But the problem with all of these, is that there's no real obvious AI integration with these. Microsoft is getting really aggressive about Copilot inside of Word, but it's not really the same thing. It will be difficult to integrate these kinds of things with the portfolio operating system, and you'll see that that's one of the key features that we really want to pull into this. And then this kind of idea of data belongingness, which is not a word. The idea is that we're journaling. We shouldn't have to leave the portfolio operating system app in order to get to our journal. We should just be able to journal, and it should be natural. And when it's all in the same soup, it'll be easier to integrate everything. So that's the why I'm going to start with that. So let's talk about features. So one of the most important things is in a journal, you're just writing your thoughts down. So we need to be able to do that. I want to be able to do it with more than just, like my current journal is just a giant text box. There's no formatting or anything like that. So any formatting I do, I have to do, sort of manually. We want to make it so that we can have, sort of a more of a Word style, Microsoft Word or Google Docs style UI, and we want it to be in Markdown format. And the reason for that is we want to make it so that our AIs have an easy time of digesting that content when we send it to them. So Markdown format is just it's a simplistic, very basic way of indicating headers, bullets, numbered lists, things like that. So it makes it, AIs are really good at understanding that stuff. We're going to want to have really strong AI integration, and we want to be able to make it so that you can bring your own AI to it. So there's, especially when we go to host this thing, I don't want to charge anyone if I can help it. And but if I'm going to also have AI integration, I don't want to incur the costs of people that might be using it. So we want to make it so that they can bring in their own AI key if they don't want to, pay for a SaaS service to do it for them. So we want to make it, and then also for that matter, when they're running it locally and they're not in the SaaS mode, they're just running it, they need to have their own AI. So we just make it so that they can bring in, and if they're, Gemini users or Copilot users or Meta users, whatever they are, we'll make it so that they can bring anyone they want. The images, so I think it'd be useful to be able to integrate images in here as well. I'm not 100% sold on that because I think the images are a little bit tricky, and I'm not sure really how valuable it'll be, but we'll see. We might, we'll put that on the table and we'll see if it stays. One of the most important things that we want to be able to do is assess our journal. So one of the things is, and this is where AI will come into this a lot, is we want AI to give us a little summary of what we did for the day. So we'll take a whole bunch of notes. A lot of times it's stream of consciousness, and we'll get nice little summaries out of that, concise summaries. We're going to have a module for rules, which are just going to be a bunch of statements about I shall never do this, I shall always do this. They're just going to be kind of statements. And then what we'll be able to do is hand the journal off to the AI and also hand off our rule book to the AI. And come out of that will be just a qualitative statement to say, this is how well you're doing against your own self-defined rules. Another one will be experiment. So I do a lot of experimentation. And I'll try different things or I'll observe stuff. And one of the things that I've found really valuable when I'm just copying and pasting my journal over to the AI and getting the results back is that it will suggest experiments for me to consider, or it'll say, oh, it looks like you tried this experiment. Did you try this instead? So, and a lot of times these experiments lead to really great outcomes. So that's something that we want to do. And then also just rule suggestions. So which is sometimes the outcome of an experiment. So you run an experiment, you get some data, and then you learn something from it. And then you want to now, you don't want to forget the learnings that you got from that experiment, so you create a new rule. Or it doesn't have to be an experiment, it could just be something that you observe, but the AI can help us to suggest rules. Okay, so we talked about a little bit about daily summaries and outcomes. One of the things would be just injecting directly into the journal, and I didn't really cover this enough. It gets a little bit into the autofill idea, but the idea is to be able to easily inject information into the journal. Maybe sometimes we'll just do it automatically. So like just be able to inject, say, these are all the trades I did today. So we just have that right in the journal. Or here's a summary of where I am, my net asset value. Where's my margin? Where's my maintenance success? Things like that. So these we can just one click push them and inject them directly into the journal. This is again another really benefit of having this thing fully integrated into the portfolio operating system as opposed to something that's outside. And then maybe autofill some things, like when we kick off the journal at the beginning of the week, and a new journal, whenever we do that, Sunday or Monday or whatever, we can autofill certain things. So we can say, okay, this is a macro view of the market as of today. Here is your starting NAV for the week. Here's your starting margin for the week. Any kind of stuff like that. We want to be able to kind of kick off the journal with some basics. Or actually, another big one will be forecast. This is what your forecast looks like. And then we can then also do little assessments about how well are we doing against forecast day by day as we journal. So these are, it just gives you a feel for a sense for the kinds of things that we're going to want to include inside of the journal feature. And then lastly, I had a few tech thoughts here. So we're going to need a database, obviously. I'm leaning towards Postgres because you can run that locally and also in the cloud. So we'll see, and there's a free version of it, so nobody would have to pay for anything for it. We're going to need like a good Markdown editor that does image handling. There are plenty of these out there in the world. We need to have a secure bring your own AI functionality. So the way that this would work is if you're running it locally, which I think many people will, then that's easy, right? It's just there and nobody can get to it. But if we are pushing this up on the cloud and making it so that there are multiple users accessing this environment, we need to make sure that the kind of bring your own AI features like ultimately result in sharing a key, putting a key up there. Whatever we do with that needs to be very secure. And in general, actually, we're going to have to make sure that the cloud version of this is highly secure. And then from a tech stack, the way I'm going to build this is basically I'm going to be doing everything with TypeScript. I have a React front end with a Vite runner. And, oops, where'd it go? What is it doing to me here? All right, with Vite. Can't get this thing to work. All right, I'll come back to that. No, here we go. Vite. And I'm not sure what we'll do for a UI yet, but we'll figure that out. We use Node.js for the service layer. I'm not 100% convinced that we want to tie ourselves entirely to Postgres. It's worked well for me so far, but we might want to make it so that we have a little optionality there. So we'll probably try to make it so that the database layer is pluggable with maybe just initial support for Postgres. And then, well, I've already talked about Postgres. So there we go. So let me get back. So that's the idea. We're going to start with the journaling capability. It's going to force a bunch of tech decisions and then try to make it so that it is deployable and independently usable by anyone. So there you go. Thank you very much. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe, and you should be seeing somewhere a pop-up on a couple of other relevant videos to this to talk about the overall vision of the product and all that good stuff. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.